Got the shot. Welcome. This is Till from What Would Till Say Photography. Thank you for showing up today. Thank you for taking the time for saving this video so you can watch later on. I'm just in a good mood. Let's go on to next stuff. It's episode 11. We're talking about the power of critique. You know, critique has such a negative connotation, for many different reasons. Some people had harsh, negative individuals critique their work and didn't give proper, feedback into the person's work. And we don't like being judged. That's just human nature. But there comes a time when every artist have to experience their work being critiqued. Critiques can be nerve-wracking. It could be anxiety driven, but if done correctly and it comes from a good place and a person who is knowledgeable, it can make you a better photographer and or artist depending on your medium. Me personally, I used to get agitated when I was critiqued. Then I learned this is how I measure if my work is speaking the language that I want to interpret to the world, essentially. So I have 3 points that I want to review and talk about as far as getting the critique done. The first point, don't get offended. It is an emotional roller coaster with being critiqued, but you have to realize it is part of the process of getting better. How will you know if your work is truly speaking the language that you want to interpret to the world? How do you know if your work is emotionally charged? And that's what a critique does. It definitely looks at what it should involve is what you did good and well, and it should also involve what you didn't do so well, and hopefully the individual is giving you tips and techniques to further improve your work. That's always the goal, whether you're a photographer, whether you're a painter, or anything of that nature. The next work, in my humble opinion, should be better than the last work that you did. We should always be aiming to get better. That's the most important part, right? Number 2, listen with intent to learn. Listen with intent to learn. The first one is don't get offended, and not getting into your emotional bag. But the second one is truly listening, listen to what the individual have to say. And while you're listening, intake that information, depending who's critiquing. Your work may be critiqued by a seasoned professional that taking their time to share lessons that they have learned over the years or decades in some cases, and they just bringing that to the forefront. And there is nothing like hearing a compliment or hearing a positive from someone who has been in the game of your medium for a long time, and they're respecting and recognizing your work. There's nothing like it. One, it builds confidence. 2, it motivates you to be better. So listen with intent to learn. Take each information and put it in your memory bank. In some cases, you may know what your weaknesses are, and when they point it out, that will be a critical moment for you to listen and take the information that you need to strengthen and remove yourself from basically technically having that weakness. You learn, you make the changes, you correct them, and then you move on to the next level of your medium, right? Number 3, accept the information. Don't rush to speak. We as humans, we're emotional. We do not like being judged. That is part of our genetic makeup, essentially. But when you're accepting the information, don't rush to speak. You take that information in. Take it in. Let it marinate. Let it do what it's supposed to do to make you better. In some cases, we can be combative. That's where the don't rush to speak, and that combativeness sometimes, create a negative wavelength that we don't need, and no one needs. And so, accepting that criticism and not rushing to speak. And I want to put out one point. I think changing your narrative and viewpoint on how we view the word critique and or criticism. I sometimes have to remind myself that is not a bad thing, because when I hear the word criticism, sometimes it's that cringing aspect of the game, and we have to rewrite the narrative of critiques, and making sure that you're in the right panel or the right individual that are critiquing you, and take the time to say thank you, and, always be thankful for someone that's not only reviewing your work, they're critiquing, but they're pushing your creativity and your work, and they letting you know where you need to go. Now, with that being said, you do have the right to manage that type of energy you receive. Now, there are some critiquers that have no business critiquing, and that will come with time, with identifying those individuals and just saying, you know what, thank you, I appreciate it. Because I'm the type, if someone critique my work, I'm gonna find you, and let me rephrase it. I'm gonna find your work, and I'm going to check you out. I'm going to see if you know what you're talking about. If you know what you're talking about, I'll give you the kudos, and I'll show that respect. With that being said, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for supporting. Or do all those great things. Subscribe to all the social medias. All the information is down below. Once again, thank you, and thank you. With that being said, peace.